Hey guys, starting back up at chapter 34. After my mom came home, my dad and I headed for Best Buy. We stopped at the bank, and while my dad stood in line, I grabbed 2 free suckers, one for me and one for Robin. I always pick purple. If there are no purples, reds are pretty good. Lollipops. I am not a big fan of yellows. We were lucky to live in Northern California, I figured. It's pretty beautiful here, except for when there are wildfires or mudslides or earthquakes. Even better, it's a place to find free food, if you know where to look. The farmers market at the Civic Center parking lot is a great spot because they give you samples. Things like honey in a straw, a peanut brittle. Grocery stores are good too, the ones where they have free cantaloupe pieces on a toothpick. Our local hardware store gives away little bags of popcorn on Saturdays, so that's an option, if you get there early enough. If you're hungry, you wouldn't want to live in Alaska, I'll bet. They probably don't have outdoor farmers markets very often, although in Alaska they do have grizzly bears. I would very much enjoy meeting one of those guys. From a nice safe distance, a grizzly bear's front claws can be 4 inches long. Around here it's easier to be hungry in winter than in summer. Most people wouldn't expect that, but during the school year you can get free breakfast and lunch and sometimes after-school snacks. Last year they stopped having summer school because there wasn't enough money, so that means no breakfast or lunch when school's out. They do have free food at the community center food pantry, but that's pretty far away. My dad doesn't like to go there. He says he doesn't want to take food from people who really need it. But I think maybe he doesn't like to go because everyone in line looks so sad and tired. After the bank, we went to Best Buy, which is this giant store filled with TVs and computers and cell phones and things. There were 2 long rows of TVs. Some were huge, taller than Robin, and every one of them was set to the same channel. I guess there are a lot of giant fans working at the store. When Matt Kane pitched a curveball, 20 balls flew across the 20 screens. One TV sky was a deeper blue, one TV field was a softer green, but the movements were all the same. It was like being in a house of mirrors at the county fair. Lots of people paused to watch the game with us. The clerks watched too when they could get away with it. When one of them asked my dad if he had any questions about the TVs, he said we were just looking. During the 4th inning, something weird happened, extremely weird. On everybody else's TV, there were 2 announcers sitting in a booth. They were wearing black headphones and they were pretty psyched about a triple play. On my TV, there were 2 announcers sitting in a booth. They had black headphones and they were excited too. But on my TV, one of the announcers was a cat. A big cat. Crenshaw, I said under my breath. He was looking right at me. He waved his paw. He looked at my dad's TV. I looked at the other TVs. None of their announcers were giant cats. Dad? I sort of whisper-gulped the word. Did you see that play? He asked. It was amazing. I saw something else too. Crenshaw was holding up 2 fingers, making rabbit ears behind the other announcer's head. Weird, I thought. A cat having fingers. I'd forgotten Crenshaw had them. Weird, I thought, that I was worrying about that. You didn't happen to see a cat just now, did you? I asked in a casual voice. Cat? My dad repeated. You mean on the field or something? The cat standing on his head, I said, because that's what Crenshaw was doing, a headstand on the desk. He was good at it, too. My dad grinned. The cat standing on his head, he repeated. He looked at my TV. Right. I'm just messing with you, I said. My voice was trembling a little. I changed the channel. That new Friskies commercial was on. My dad ruffled my hair. He looked at me. Really looked in that way that only parents can do. Feeling okay, buddy? He asked. I know things have been a little crazy lately. You have no idea, I thought. I smiled an extra big fake smile that I use on my parents sometimes. Totally, I said. The Giants won 6-3. When the game was over, we drove to Pet Food Express. All the way there, I thought about Crenshaw. There's always a logical explanation, I told myself. Always. Maybe I dozed off a minute and dreamed him up. Maybe, just maybe, I was going completely bonkers. My dad was tired from standing so long at Best Buy. So I said I'd go get Aretha's food. Smallest, cheapest bag, my dad reminded me. Smallest and cheapest, I nodded. It was cool and quiet inside. I walked past shelf after shelf of dog food. Some contained turkey and cranberry, some had salmon or tuna or buffalo for dogs who were allergic to chicken. They even had dog food made with kangaroo meat. Near the food, I saw a rack of dog sweaters. They said things like, hot dog and I'm a great catch. Next to them were sparkly pet collars and harnesses. Aretha would never be caught dead in one of those. Pets don't care about sparkles. What a waste of money. I passed a display of dog cookies shaped like bones and cats and squirrels. They looked better than some human cookies. And then I don't know why, my hand started moving. It grabbed one of those stupid cookies. a cookie that was shaped like a cat. Next thing I knew, the cookie was in my pocket. Down the aisle, a clerk in a red vest was on his hands and knees in front of the dog toys. He was wiping up dog pee while a customer's poodle puppy licked his face. "Collars are half off," the clerk called to me. I kind of froze. Then I said I was just looking. I wondered if he'd seen me take the cookie. It didn't sound like it, but I couldn't be sure. "You know, scientists found that dogs maybe really do laugh," I said. My words were spilling fast like pennies from a holy pocket. "They make this noise when they're playing. It's not exactly panting, more like a puffing sound, sort of, but they think it could be a laughter." "No kidding," the clerk said. He sounded a little grumpy, maybe because the puppy had just peed on a shoe. The puppy scrambled over to nose me. He was dragging a boy who looked about 4 years old. The boy was wearing dinosaur slippers. His nose was running big time. "He's wagging," the boy said. "He likes you." I read somewhere that when a dog's tail wags to the right, it means he's feeling happy about something. Left, not so much. The clerk stood. He was holding the wad of toilet paper in his outstretched hand like it was nuclear waste. I made myself meet his eyes. It felt hot and shaky to do so. "Where's the dog chow?" "The stuff in the big red bag with green stripes on it. Aisle 9. "You know lots about dogs," the little boy said to me. "I'm going to be an animal scientist," I told him. "I have to know lots." "I have a sore throat, but it's not strep," the boy said, wiping his nose from the back of his hand. "My mom is buying food for King Kong. That's our guinea pig." "Good name. And this is Turbo." "Also a good name." I reached into my pocket and felt the cookie there. My eyes burned and blurred. I sniffled. "You have a cold, too?" the boy asked. "Something like that." I let Turbo lick my hand and headed to the back. "He's wagging to the right, I think," the boy called out. I've never stolen anything before last spring, except for the unfortunate incident with the yo-yo when I was 5 and used very bad judgment. It was a surprise how good I was at it. It's like when you discover you have an unusual talent, being able to lick your elbow, for instance, or wiggling your ears. I felt like a magician. Now you see it, now you don't. Watch Magic Jackson make this quarter appear from behind your ear. Watch this bubble gum disappear before your eyes. Gum is harder than you think. It's the perfect size for slipping into your pocket, but it's usually right next to the place where you pay, so it's easier for a clerk to see you up to no good. I'd only shoplifted 4 times, twice to get food for Robin, and once to get gum for me. And now the dog cookie. I got my start with jars of baby food. Even though she was 5, Robin liked eating it sometimes. The stinky meat kind, not even the fruit goo. Don't ask me why. I will never understand that girl. We stopped at a Safeway grocery store because Robin had to go to the bathroom. She wanted to get something to eat, but my mom said wait till later. While they went to find the restroom, I wandered around the aisles, and then I saw the Gerber baby food. I slipped 2 jars of chicken and rice into my pockets, smooth and easy as could be. Nobody seemed to notice, probably because who would think a kid my age would steal something that looks like brown snot? In the next aisle, I passed a guy from my school with his dad, Paul something. He was pushing their shopping cart. They had a giant snack pack of barbecue potato chips and those lemonade drinks in little boxes and a giant bag of red apples. I waved very casually, and "it's not like I'm showing bad judgment or anything" kind of wave, and Paul waved back. I walked right out the door with Robin and my mom, no sweat. No lightning came down to zap me, no police cars zoomed in with sirens howling like coyotes. Later at home, I pretended to find the jars in the back of the cupboard. My mom was really happy, and so was Robin. I was amazed how easy the lying came. It was like turning on a faucet. The words just rushed right out. I felt guilty for not feeling guilty. I shoplifted. I'd taken something that didn't belong to me. I was a criminal. But I told myself that in nature it's survival of the fittest. Eat or be eaten. Kill or be killed. They say those things a lot in nature films, right after the lion eats the zebra. Of course, I wasn't a lion. I was a person who knew right from wrong, and stealing was wrong. But here's the truth. I felt crummy about the stealing, but I felt even worse about the lying. If you like facts the way I do, try lying sometime. It'll surprise you how hard it is to do. Still in all, even though I felt lousy, I had fixed a problem. Robin gobbled down the chicken and rice goo so fast that she threw up most of it on my book about cheetahs. I figured maybe that was punishment. When we got home from the pet store, I went to my room, half expecting to see Crenshaw lounging on my bed. Instead, I found Aretha. Her nose was buried in my keepsake bag, and she had a guilty expression on her face. She, for sure, was up to something, and she had something in her mouth, but I couldn't see what it was. "Show me," I said. I pulled the stolen dog cookie from my pocket. It was a little mushed on one side. I held it out so that Aretha would drop whatever was in her mouth and take the cookie instead. but she wasn't interested. Probably she didn't want to eat stolen goods. Aretha slunk towards my bedroom door, tail dragging, and I saw what she was holding. It was the clay statue I'd made of Crenshaw, clutched between her teeth. "You don't want that old thing," I said, but she seemed to disagree. As soon as she was out of my bedroom, she galloped down the hall and scratched urgently at the front door. "Want me to open it, baby?" Robin asked. She turned the knob, and Aretha rocketed outside. "Aretha, stop!" I yelled. Usually she waited by the door for me, flopping her tail hopefully. Not today. I grabbed her leash. She was heading straight for Marisol's house, which was about half a block down the street. Aretha loved Marisol. She also loved Marisol's 7 cats, who enjoyed sunbathing on the screened-in back porch. I found Aretha in Marisol's old sandbox. Marisol didn't use it anymore, but Aretha loved it. She was already digging a hole. Sand fanned skyward like sprinkler spray. Aretha was an expert digger. She buried 2 water bowls, a TV remote, a pizza box, a Ziploc bag of Legos, 3 Frisbees, and 2 of my homework folders there. Not that my teachers believed me. Marisol was wearing flip-flops and her pajamas, which had snoring sheep on them. She loved pajamas. In first grade, she wore them to school every day until the principal told her she was setting a bad example. In her left hand, Marisol had a huge, large saw. Her hair was covered with sawdust. She almost always smelled like fresh-cut wood. Marisol loved to build things, especially things for animals and birds and reptiles. She made birdhouses and bat shelters and dog carriers and cat trees, hamster habitats and ferret houses as well. At the end of her fenced yard were planks, a sawhorse, and a big circular saw. A small house-looking thing was on the ground, half-built. It was for one of her cats. "Hey," I said. "Hey, you ready for the yard sale?" "I guess. Aretha brought me that," Marisol said. She pointed to the Crenshaw statue, which was sitting on the picnic table. "Dropped it right at my feet." "I made it when I was little," I said with a shrug. "It's lame." "If you made it, it's not lame," Marisol said. She put down her saw and examined the statue. Aretha stopped digging and looked up at us hopefully. Her face was covered in sand. Her tongue lollied sideways. "It's a cat," Marisol said, brushing off a piece of grass stuck to the bottom. "A standing cat with a baseball cap. I like it. I like it very much." I shrugged, hands in my pockets. "Was this for the yard sale?" Marisol asked. "How much is it?" "It's not for sale. Aretha got into a bag of my stuff." "I have $3. "For that?" I laughed. "It's just, a hunk of clay, some school project." "I like it. It's intriguing." Marisol reached into her pajama pocket. She handed me a wad of money that looked like it had been through the laundry. "Keep it," I said. "Think of it as a going-away present." Her eyes went wide. "What are you talking about, Jackson? You're not—" I waved a hand. "No, it's probably nothing. My parents are just being their usual weird selves." It wasn't the truth. Not completely, but it wasn't not the truth. "You better not move. I miss you too much. Why would you go? And who would help me with the sea-spout walk? And anyways, I love your weird parents." I didn't respond. "We've got the dachshunds tomorrow," Marisol said. "Yep." I pointed to the miniature zigzag staircase she was building. "Where's that going?" "Antonio's old room, when he heads off to college this fall. Or maybe Luis's. His room is just full of boxes." "You're like an only child," I said. It's kind of boring," Marisol said, pushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "There's no one to fight with. It's too quiet." "It sounds nice. I like your apartment. There's always something going on. Sometimes it's just me and Paula for days on end." She rolled her eyes. Marisol's dad was a salesman and her mom was a pilot. They traveled a lot, so Paula, an older woman, often stayed with Marisol. Marisol refused to call her a nanny or babysitter or caregiver. She was just Paula. Marisol grabbed a tape measure to check the height of the staircase she was making. "I'm going to attach the staircase to the wall, see, like so, and then put shelves way up high for the cats to climb to. It'll be like cat paradise." Speaking of cats, I bent down to fill in the hole Aretha had made. The sand was soft and dry. "Did I ever tell you—" I hesitated, then pushed on. "Did I ever tell you I had an imaginary friend when I was little?" "Really?" "Me too. Her name was Whoops. She had red hair and was extremely naughty. I blamed her for everything. Who was yours?" "He was a cat. A big cat. I don't remember much about him." "You should never forget your imaginary friend." "How come?" "What if you need him someday?" Marisol reached for a piece of wood. "I remember everything about Whoops. She liked to eat Brussels sprouts." "Why?" I pretended to gag. "Probably because I like Brussels sprouts." "You never told me that. I may have to reconsider our friendship." "Because of Whoops or the Brussels sprouts?" She yanked a nail out of the plank with her hammer. "Hey, New bat fact. In Austin, Texas, they have the world's largest urban bat colony, like 1.5 million of them. When they fly out at night, you can see them on the airport radar screens. Very cool, I said. Miss Malone would love seeing that. Marisol and I both had Miss Malone for 4th grade. She taught all subjects, but she loved science best of all, biology especially. We chatted about bats while we watched Aretha dig another hole. Finally, I said, "Oh, I gotta go." I hooked Aretha to her leash and she licked my cheek with a sand-covered tongue. It felt like a cat's. Did Whoops ever, I made myself ask the question. Did she ever come back after you outgrew her? Marisol didn't answer right away. Sometimes she just let a question sit for a while, like she needed some time to get acquainted with it. "I wish you would come back," Marisol said, gazing at me. "I think you'd like her." I nodded. Yeah, I guess I could overlook the Brussels sprouts thing. "Jackson?" "Yep." "You're not really moving, are you?" I studied her question the way she studied mine. "Probably not," I said, because it was easy and easier to lie. Aretha and I were almost to the front yard when Marisol called out, "It needs a name." "You mean the statue?" "Yeah, something unique." "What do you want its name to be?" I asked. She didn't answer right away. She took her time. Finally, she said, "Crenshaw would be a good name for a cat, I think." How'd she know? It's crazy. So if you really pay attention, the whole idea of Crenshaw comes back when he needs help and he doesn't have a friend, and the idea that Aretha picked him up out of all the toys and brought him to Marisol, Crenshaw's connecting them back together. So he was able to talk to her for a while and have a friend for a while and share some thoughts. So that's Crenshaw's little way of helping him out through the statue. And I think it's crazy that she thinks Crenshaw's a good name for a cat. That's interesting. Intriguing. All right, we'll read more tomorrow, my friends. Bye.